quite recently, there used to be a lot of these small tin plate mills up and down the country. They've now been finally killed by the sheer size and output of the huge new strip mills. What looks like one fairly thick steel sheet turns out to be 16 paper-thin ones, tightly packed together after all the rolling and folding, and needing quite a lot of separating before they go first into the annealing ovens for a good long baking, and then into the acid baths to prepare them for tinning. Some of this equipment is real connoisseur stuff, but it works and works well. A splendid combination of crane and grab and conveyor that gets the plates very comfortably through their cleaning process. These are almost the last steel sheets that are ever going to be rolled and tinned this way. The works is having to shut down because only a third of its production's made up of its great speciality, very thin tin plate, known to the trade as taggers. This has been used for a very long time for the inner lids of tins containing perishable things like coffee and cigarettes that need to be hermetically sealed, especially in hot and damp climates. But scattered all over the world now, there are strategic stocks of taggers that should last a couple of years. After that, some substitute will have to be found, because this is something the big mills just can't make, or don't intend to make anyway. Apart from the taggers, the other two-thirds of Redbrook's production has to be the thicker stuff that the big new strip mills can turn out much more cheaply. But this works isn't by any means an old-fashioned run-down place. The men here are working in a highly efficient and well-organized plant. It's sheer economics that's defeated them.
It was harder work in those days. I mean, this firm has modernized the place as much as they possibly could, I should think. 12 years ago, they spent a lot of money and they're right up to date. In fact, I think ours is the most up to date in its own class that is really working. We have everything I think is possible to get in the way of modern plants.
It's in this section of the works, where the rolling and bending goes on, that the most remarkable and spectacular skills of all are to be found. A highly specialised team of 6 men with tradition and traditional names built into their jobs.
The top job in the mill is a roller. The next job is a doubler. The next job is a furnaceman. The next is a first helper. The next is a second helper, and the bottom job of all is what we term catcher, or the official word for it would be a behinder.
These highly skilled and well-paid men are working at the end of a tradition of metalworking at Redbrook that goes back 2,000 years on the same site. By Christmas, the 150 men employed here will have started commuting 20 or 30 miles to other jobs. Mostly routine jobs, unfortunately, that won't demand anything like the intelligence and responsibility that's been necessary here, and jobs that almost certainly won't bring them the same amount of money or personal satisfaction. It looks pretty tiring lifting heavy lumps of steel at the end of a 3-foot pair of tongs for 8 hours a day. But it isn't anything like as tiring now as it used to be. At one time, there were only 4 men in one of these teams. Now there are 6.
Well, there again, a man can be completely exhausted. I'll give an example. You could meet me as I walked into the mill to start to work and speak to me, and you'd hardly know me when I finished 8 hours because of perspiration. You've contracted, so to speak. Your eyes are sunk in, and all that. But those conditions are not now as bad as that.
And tonight the mills are cooling down and the last shift of all is going off duty.
Well, practically all my generation of mates and friends working here, and of course we all feel the same. We've never really done any other class of work. We feel pretty sad about it. I mean, our roots are here. Well, it's pretty hard, isn't it? It's pretty hard to pack up and start off at our time of life.
Well, I reached 63 years of age, so I'm pretty well resigned to the fact that I finished, I should say, because we're not an attractive proposition for people to employ now.